Good evening, Red Star Rebels. It's August 23rd, 2022. This is Season 2, Podcast number 23, and Red Star Report is back. I'm Hal G. Lohr. This is Voices for the California Nation. Before we begin tonight, I'd like to send a brief thank you to the California National Party for allowing Red Star Report to come out and cover the 2022 convention. It was great working with everybody and seeing everybody, and with any luck at all, we'll be featuring many of the speakers from the convention here on Red Star Report in the very near future. So stay tuned. Anyway, let's get started. With Washington Democrats celebrating the passing of Biden's Infrastructure Bill 2.0, Republicans are stoking Reichstag fire levels of anger over the FBI raid of Mar-a-Lago. So I guess it's safe to say that Californians have officially entered the American three-ring circus leading up to the 2022 midterm elections. And send in the clowns. Because both of those events seem timed down to the perfect election cycle moment to energize increasingly disenchanted political bases. Events that officially launched this season's political talking points that allow partisan media and struggling candidates to find a narrative that makes the last 2 years not look like a complete waste of time in a hopelessly divided and collapsing United States. So here we are. And don't worry, Red Star Report will be making both sides mad for the next 10 weeks. As after the last 2 political nightmare years, we'll keep reminding everybody that the California independence movement is not so easily entertained or distracted. Because what's in it for California as national Democrats trumpet this trillion-dollar Build Back Better infrastructure bill? Californians already know it will end up sending more money to an impoverished red state like Alabama that hates California than it will to our long-suffering state of California with our 5th largest economy in the world. And Californians also know that with that 5th largest economy in the world, Californians will end up picking up 20% of the federal check for the measly table scrap levels of funding that historically will make it all the way to the West Coast. Then, you know what will happen. To add insult to injury, the DNC will absolutely beg Californians to donate to out-of-state congressional candidates fighting in tight election races that Californians can't even vote in. Making a case of vote blue no matter who, even when they don't represent you. Because Democrats in other states that can't get their own political shit together always need California cash to do the heavy lifting for them, don't they? It's always send lawyers, guns, and money, or evil Republicans will flip this can't get anything done Congress. Seems to be the best the DNC can do, but of course, it gets worse. In the meantime, the National Republican Party has gone full tilt Joseph Goebbels about the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago and the evil socialist Democrats, happily rolling in their own hypocritic filth in a delusion, self-fulfilling prophecy to justify calls for violence and civil war, claiming the Democratic Party used the Department of Justice as a latter-day Gestapo. The pot calling the kettle black being the very essence of fascist propaganda. American ultra-right Republicans are now claiming DOJ persecution of political opposition will be the political norm from now on as far as they're concerned, giving California independence movement supporters more than a hint of how close to an outright fascist state the United States is in today, especially with this Supreme Kangaroo Court presiding. To say nothing of what will happen if, and most people think when, the Republican Party returns to power in Washington. So that's the 2022 midterm dumpster fire reality that Red Star Report, as the voice of the California independence movement, will be watching play out between now and the first week of November. As I've said before, buckle up, Red Star rebels, because we're in for a bumpy ride. Over the next 10 weeks, Red Star Report, as the media group for the California independence movement, will not only work to bring you voices for the California Nation and Activism in Action segments, but we'll also bring you new and recurring content from our Red Star contributors to try to put this whole thing in the California independence movement perspective. We hope you'll join us, because let's face it, as crazy as the 2022 midterm election cycle will be, this is just the quiet before the storm that will be the 2024 presidential election. So give us a like and subscribe, because you're not going to want to miss this. And this is Voices for the California Nation. Next up, we have some good stuff to share about California as Activism in Action with Shankar Singham reports on California's efforts to feed all of our school children. And that starts now.
Hello, Californians. Shankar Singham here with an Activism in Action short. And California does it again with another first, folks. We became the first state to provide free school lunches to all of our wonderful young Californians. So right now, 6.5 million kids are eligible, regardless of your family income, your household income, to get a free lunch and breakfast courtesy of the state of California. So, and you know what this all cost us? It cost us all of $54 million. The entire program, of course, cost $650 million, which we get that money back from the Fed from our taxes, right? So they give us back our $650 million. You add $54 million on top of that, and bam, every school, every kid in California was going to be fed a proper breakfast and lunch. It seemed in the past with the free lunch program was already in place, but students didn't like utilizing it because it showed that they were poor and they didn't want to be bullied by other kids, right? So now it's eligible, the school lunch is eligible for all students. So let's look at the story real quick. It's this one is by CNBC, I believe, CBS. So CBS reporting, California becomes first state to provide free meals to all students. That's right. The new school year has started out for many students in California, and the state is officially the first to offer free meals to all students. Ahead of the 2022-2023 school year, Governor Gavin Newsom signed into legislation that establishes a universal meal program. Under the new law, all kindergarten through 12th grade schools must provide 2 free meals, breakfast and lunch, during each school day to students requesting a meal, regardless of the student's free or reduced price meal eligibility. So, boom, we're doing it. I mean, we have a $100 billion surplus, and it looks like the governor's doing a great job spending it. But even if that was the case, I mean, we're a $3 trillion economy. What's $54 million? We could have done this a long time ago. I can already think of some red states that can't even do this, even if they wanted to. They just don't have the money. They don't have, and it would cost nowhere near 54 million would probably be their state's entire budget to feed them, and they don't even have that. They need to really start, some of these states, red states, really need to start rethinking how they want to manage their state, because they're running it into the shitter. How many people from out of state will come over here to take advantage of this lunch program? Soon to find out. In addition to making free meals available to all students, the law also provides $150 million in funding to support kitchen infrastructure upgrades and nutrition-related staff training for districts preparing to implement the Universal Meals Program. That's right. So now we're getting new stoves, new refrigerators, new microwaves, new ovens. to make all this food for the students. Thank God. That was what we should have done a long time ago. Now, all of those businesses that do construction or do kitchen install, there you go. That's going to be a huge boom to the economy as well, just by all these infrastructure upgrades. So good for that. Feeding America, which is an organization that does studies on food banks, a nonprofit that runs hundreds of food banks nationwide, predicted that 13 million children may experience food insecurity in 2021. While this is a slight improvement from 2020, many families who faced food insecurity before the pandemic faced greater hardship after COVID-19 started. There also is racial disparities for food insecurity, and Feeding America projected that 21% of black individuals may have experienced food insecurity in 2021 compared to 11% of white individuals. There you go, folks. We are nipping it in the bud. We're nipping it in the bud. And universal meal program is only the beginning. Maybe we can expand this onto universal health. Oh, but wait. It looks like the governor already has been. Turns out, Governor Newsom signed legislation making California's new $100 million plan to make insulin cheaper. So we are about to manufacture our own insulin, folks, because the high price of insulin is a joke. I don't want to get too worked up or pissed off about it, but it is a complete joke. We pay an average $100. That's average. So some people are paying more than $100 for a unit of insulin. Whereas the next most expensive country that sells insulin is Chile at $25 a unit. That's the second highest price. We're average at 100, probably more. Chile's at 25, and the rest of the planet calls Chile a bunch of rapists for the gouging for that type of pricing. With a budget of $100 million, California plans to contract and make our own insulin at a cheaper price, close to at cost, and to make it available to all, Newsom said. It's unclear exactly how inexpensive California's insulin will be and when the low-cost drugs will be available. Insulin in the U.S. costs almost $100 per unit on average. That's nearly 4 times the price in Chile, which has the second highest prices among the 34 countries analyzed by the nonprofit RAND Corporation at less than $25 a unit. So, we're going to be making insulin not only just for us, but for you, United States. We're coming to wipe your nose again. We're coming to wipe your ass again. You can come and get your insulin from us here. You can come and get your abortion from us here. You don't know how to manage your state. You don't know how to run your state. You don't know how to take control of your state. Kansas is trying to take control of the state. Kansas, way to go. Way to come out and vote, Kansas. But you're in a red part of the world. You got to get rid of your racists first. That means you got to kill your parents and you kill your family, who are all racist, and you know they're racist. And healthcare, and school meal programs are all part of the problem. Why they don't have these programs already instituted is because of racism. Period. End of story. So here we have California making our own insulin, hopefully, which will drive prices down. Hopefully, this will creep on over to the rest of healthcare, and we have a nice state-run socialized health program, where if you do want to upgrade to the Kaisers or to the United Healths, you can upgrade, pay the little extra money and upgrade your health services, but there should be a basic form of healthcare coming for all Californians, and I sense that is on its way here in California pretty soon, pretty quick here. Again, this is yet another example of how California is vastly superior to the rest of the United States, It's just a cut above. Just these small incremental little notches, insulin, school programs, is what makes us just superior. Not just superior, vastly superior to the United States. Not to the world. The planet already has some of these programs already in place. But in comparison to the United States, this is how you do it. So thank you, Governor Newsom, and thank you guys all for listening to this episode. That's all I got for you. Love your home, and I'll see you on the next side. Bye.
That was Activism in Action with Shankar Singham. See? It doesn't always need to be the bad stuff. Now, with more of the bad stuff, let's go to talking points. Tonight on Talking Points, we answer the question, what about those Californians that still believe in American patriotism, American symbols, and the American flag who aren't ready to support an independent California? The first part of that answer has to go to another question. Which America is it that those Californians actually still believe in? Is it the Founding Fathers' America portrayed in the whitewashed history books we were taught about in school? The ones where the USA was founded on the principle of all men being created equal, as it waged genocide on the indigenous and based its entire economy on slavery? Or is it that all too familiar post-war World War II America, with the Red Scare and a global superpower that can do no wrong America, that never stopped trying to keep women barefoot and pregnant, or gay people in the closet, or people of color poor and on the wrong side of the tracks? So yeah, there are a number of Americas here to choose from. So what America is it that those Californians still actually believe in? Because really, if they're looking at today's divided, broken, all for some and none for all America, then there's really nothing the California independence movement can say to those people. They're just too far gone. We might as well be waving at a blind person. But I think from a California independence movement standpoint in 2022, the real answer is more immediate. Particularly when American patriotism and America's flags and symbols no longer even pretend to represent what we Californians see as freedom or even democracy. A systematic subversion of all things, quote, American, end quote, by the radical right that goes back to 9/11, the Patriot Act, and the Tea Party. And I have to say, time, Trumpards, and armed patriot militias have only solidified that perception in the public eye. In the times since then, the red, white, and blue of the American flag and symbols like the Don't Tread on Me Gadsden flag are now considered the wholesale property of the American alt-right and the Republican Party. As part of the activist community and the voice of the California independence movement, we all get the obvious propaganda goal there. They did it as a right out of the fascist playbook effort to rebrand the very idea of American patriotism, taking it from I love America to if you're not a conservative Republican, you're an un-American enemy of the state. The truth of that made very clear when ultra-conservatives like Ted Cruz from Texas feel the need to take time out of their busy schedule to hold congressional hearings to deny it. Watch this.
Yesterday, it was reported that Project Veritas had obtained a copy of an FBI training material, which listed various symbols and themes which, in the FBI's estimation, were indicative of, quote, militia violent extremism. Now, these symbols weren't things like the Ku Klux Klan or the Nazi Party, which naturally would be symbols of that, but instead they included, rather astonishingly, patriotic symbols of our nation and our history. Included on this list is the Betsy Ross flag. It's not just the Betsy Ross flag. Also on this list is the Gadsden flag, that you're a violent extremist. Also included on this is a text that I was particularly struck, is the Gonzales battle flag. Come and take it. As indicative of being a violent extremist militia. Well, I will self-report right now that every day in the Senate I wear my boots that have the Gonzales battle flag on the back of them.
A case of proof in denial. Sorry, Ted, but the truth is nations, flags, symbols, and even patriotism are utterly defined by what the majority of people perceive them to be. The sides have already been chosen on this, so give me a moment and let me illustrate. What flags and symbols do you see in pictures from American ultra-right conservative events, protests, and demonstrations? Look familiar? Lots of good old red, white, and blue patriotism there. Goes nicely with the guns, racism, and political entitlement, I guess. Now, by contrast, what flags and symbols do you not see in pictures from Black Lives Matter marches, women's marches, and LGBTQ pride or resistance marches here in California? Wow. Something seems to have gone missing. What does that say about California values and the California public perception of the 21st century meaning of those American flags and symbols? It says that as a Californian, that's not us. And those American flags and symbols now represent the opposition. So, what about those Californians that still believe in American patriotism, American symbols, and the American flag who aren't ready to support an independent California? Well, there is no question about the 23% minority of conservative Republican Californians who seem completely comfortable with America's march to fascism. When you consider many of them and their elected officials actually defy California laws and act as U.S. collaborators in America's shift to the hard right, it's a safe bet they have no reason to want to get on board with California independence in the first place. So the answer for those people is the California independence movement can reach out to them, but will probably never reach them. But still, polls have repeatedly shown that California is both the least religious and least patriotic of America's 50 states. And polls in the past have shown that as much as 41% of Californians could already support an independent nation of California. I'd be willing to bet that with recent Supreme Court decisions and laws offensive to most Californians' political values going into effect across red state America, that will do nothing to make the California independence movement message less attractive. And the same can be said about the probable outcome of the next two election cycles as well. So for the rest of the Californians that still believe in liberty and California values, the California independence movement job remains the same. To shatter the ridiculous delusion that even if Democrats win short-term victories, this broken America can never really be fixed by the same socioeconomic and political systems that failed Californians in the first place. And to continue the argument that a free and independent California as a future is the best alternative to an America that the vast majority of Californians see as steadily changing for the worse. And to let Californians know they're not alone when they look up, see the American clown rag flying over California's flag, that it's more than okay to not feel all warm and fuzzy about it. This is Talking Points. That's it for this Red Star Report. For more Red Star Report information, I'd invite you to check out our website at redstarreport.com. Subscribe to our Red Star Report YouTube channel. Please go to our Red Star Report Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram. Give us a like and follow, because if you want to support the real California Independence Movement Media Group, it's all about the algorithms. Our thanks to you, our Red Star Rebels, for watching. We are Red Star Report.